This is you. Then there's your dad. And his dad. And his dad before him. If you keep tracing that line back, you'll zoom past powdered wigs, medieval knights in chain mail, mammoths roaming icy plains, until finally, you'll arrive at a scruffy guy squatting in the dirt, munching on a beetle, just hoping to stay alive until sundown. That guy? Yeah, that's your ancestor. He didn't have a name. He didn't have shoes. And he definitely had no clue that you, a distant future human with a crippling caffeine dependency and a tendency to binge snacks at 2 a.m., would ever exist. Here's the crazy part. If that guy, or literally any one of the thousands in your ancestral chain, had slipped up at the wrong time, gotten mauled by a saber-tooth, died from eating the wrong mushroom, or just failed to reproduce for whatever reason, you wouldn't be here. Your existence isn't exactly luck. It's the result of a brutal combination of biology and sheer coincidence. You are, quite literally, the byproduct of 1,000 generations who managed not to die before making another version of themselves. Congrats, I guess? So today we're diving into just how many times humanity almost wiped itself out, and how close you came to never being born in the first place. We're ranking 5 of the deadliest periods in human history, from merely awful to, just go ahead and write your will at birth, levels of doom. Let's get into it. Number 5, the Ice Age. About 20,000 years ago, during what's known as the last glacial maximum, Earth wasn't exactly the cozy place you know today. Giant ice sheets, some up to 2 miles thick, buried huge parts of North America, Europe, and Asia. The average global temperature was around 10 degrees Fahrenheit, or 6 degrees Celsius, colder than today, which might not sound like much, but it was enough to turn massive stretches of the planet into frozen wastelands. If you were alive back then, your entire day revolved around not freezing to death. You'd wake up in your mammoth bone hut, yes, literally bones and hides stitched together with bone needles, and spend your daylight hours hunting giant woolly mammoths that weighed as much as a school bus. Oh, and these mammoths weren't exactly waiting to be your dinner. They were more like, you want to eat me? Watch me stomp you into the snow. If hypothermia didn't kill you, infection might. A simple cut could mean death, because antibiotics weren't a thing. Neither were vaccines, band-aids, or emergency rooms. Medical care basically meant chewing random plants and praying to whichever rock you called your god that day. On top of all that, predators like the cave lion, officially known as Pantherospilea, one of the biggest wild cats in history, roamed around ready to make you their next meal. Despite this endless buffet of ways to die, Homo sapiens pulled through. We invented better tools, mastered fire, developed complex hunting strategies, and even created early art, like the stunning cave paintings at Lascaux, France. Because apparently between running from lions and freezing their butts off, Ice Age humans still found time to make art. Respect. Number 4, the dawn of agriculture. Fast forward to about 10,000 years ago when humans decided chasing mammoths across frozen plains just wasn't it anymore. Dude, I can't walk another mile today. Bro, you don't even have shoes. Also, breakfast is still 400 miles away. Listen, hear me out. What if we make food come to us instead? And so began agriculture, humanity's first great idea that came with a million hidden downsides. Early humans started planting wheat, barley, lentils, you name it, settling down in permanent villages instead of wandering endlessly. Sounds smart, right? It was, but also it wasn't. Living in close quarters with other people meant diseases could spread faster than gossip at a family gathering. Diets worsened too. Instead of the protein-packed hunter-gatherer menu, early farmers ate way more carbs and far fewer nutrients. Their teeth rotted out of their skulls and their bones showed signs of vitamin deficiencies and malnutrition. Plus, farming was a gamble. One drought, one swarm of locusts, one unexpected flood, and suddenly everyone in your village was starving to death while staring up at the sky wondering why their gods hated them. Archaeologists have found countless ancient skeletons riddled with anemia, malnutrition, and teeth so decayed you can practically hear them screaming through the millennia. But despite the pain and misery, agriculture gave humans stability, permanent settlements, and eventually, civilization itself. Still, for those first farmers, it was a rough trade-off between starve in the wild and starve in your own village. Number 3, the Mongol invasions. Now let's jump to the 13th century. Imagine you're chilling in your village, going about your medieval life, when suddenly you see a massive cloud of dust on the horizon. Bad news. You've probably got about 3 minutes to panic, say your prayers, and maybe hug your goat goodbye before the Mongols arrive. Led by Genghis Khan, a man for whom the word mercy was basically a rumor, the Mongols created the largest land empire in human history, stretching from China all the way to Eastern Europe. Their strategy was terrifyingly simple: show up fast, strike hard, and leave absolutely nothing behind. They were masters of psychological warfare. Entire cities were wiped off the map. Populations were slaughtered. Survivors, if there were any, were sometimes forced to act as human shields in the next battle. Mongol horse archers could shoot arrows accurately from 300 yards away while riding at full gallop. Think about that. They basically invented mobile warfare centuries before tanks rolled onto battlefields. Historians estimate the Mongol invasions killed around 10% of the entire world's population. And remember, back then the global population was tiny compared to today. So when the Mongols came, your options were pretty limited. Run, they'll catch you; hide, they'll find you; or surrender. Good luck with that. But in their wake, the Mongols did more than just destroy. They connected the East and West, built trade networks, and opened cultural exchanges that shaped global history. Still, for anyone alive at the time, all you'd be thinking about was how to avoid becoming sword practice for a Mongol warrior. Number 2. The Black Death. Fast forward to 1347. Europe was about to receive the worst gift in human history, delivered by some highly motivated fleas hitching a ride from Central Asia. The Black Death, also known as the bubonic plague, spread like wildfire across Europe, North Africa, and Asia. Caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, it traveled on rats, fleas, and humans who had no concept of personal hygiene. If someone sneezed on you, shared a cup with you, or just existed in the same plague-infested medieval air, you could catch it. Symptoms were horrific: giant swollen lymph nodes, high fevers, vomiting blood, and, spoiler alert, death, usually within days. There were no hospitals with respirators, no antibiotics, and certainly no vaccines. Once infected, it was basically a death sentence. It's estimated that between 30% to 60% of Europe's entire population died in just a few years. Think about that for a second. Entire villages were abandoned. Economies collapsed. Crops rotted in fields because there was no one left to harvest them. Families were wiped out overnight. And those creepy plague doctor masks? You know, the ones with the long beak noses? Medieval doctors stuffed them with herbs and flowers because they believed the plague spread through bad air. So yeah, their best medical defense was basically a medieval vibe check. The world was so devastated that it took centuries for Europe to recover. But strangely, it also reshaped society. Labor became more valuable, feudal systems began to crumble, and wages for survivors went up because there were so few workers left. If you survived, life was slightly less miserable. But first, you had to survive. Number 1. The Toba supervolcano eruption. Now let's go way back, around 74,000 years ago, when humanity nearly blinked out of existence entirely. The Toba supervolcano erupted in what is now Indonesia, and it wasn't just any eruption. This was the mother of all eruptions, launching more than 670 cubic miles of ash and debris into the atmosphere. That's enough material to bury the entire United States under a thick layer of volcanic ash. The explosion triggered a volcanic winter so severe that sunlight was blocked out for an estimated 6 to 10 years. Global temperatures dropped by up to 27 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees Celsius. Plants died. Animals starved. Entire ecosystems collapsed. For early humans who were already spending their days hunting and gathering just to avoid starving, it was catastrophic. Food supplies vanished almost overnight. Forests became barren graveyards. Rivers dried up. Landscapes turned into frozen deserts with no animals to hunt, no plants to gather, and no sunlight to warm the earth. Scientists believe the total human population dropped to fewer than 3,000 individuals worldwide. Imagine that. The entire human species reduced to a group small enough to fit into a high school auditorium. This genetic bottleneck was so tight that almost everyone alive today is descended from those few desperate survivors who managed to cling to life in a world that had completely collapsed. No crops, no animals, no sunlight, and no second chances. Imagine living every day in darkness, freezing, starving, and never knowing if tomorrow would even come. But somehow, against all odds, a handful of stubborn, resilient humans pulled through. And because they didn't give up, you're here today, scrolling YouTube in your warm bed. So yeah, next time you're feeling down about missing a deadline or burning your toast, remember, your ancestors survived literal extinction events, volcanic winters, pandemics, and empires built on conquest. Also, you could sit here, worrying about whether your crush left you on read. It's wild to think about, isn't it? You're the product of every single one of those people refusing to die before having kids. Every single mammoth-hunting Ice Age survivor, every plague-dodging medieval peasant, every battle-scarred farmer and terrified villager, they all passed the torch of life down through thousands of years, and now it's in your hands. You exist because a million little chances lined up perfectly. Because someone didn't freeze to death in the Ice Age. Because someone managed to plant enough wheat to survive a drought. Because someone hid under a floorboard when the Mongols came riding through. Because someone outran the plague. Because a tiny group of desperate people clung to life after a volcano blocked out the sun. And that's honestly pretty incredible. Sure, life today has its challenges. Your boss might suck, your rent might be insane, and your favorite show might have been canceled after season 1. But hey, at least you're not hunting 6-ton mammoths with a sharpened stick while wearing a coat made out of another animal's face. So if you ever doubt your worth, just remember, you are the miracle your ancestors fought mammoths for. Thanks for watching Barely Evolved. If you enjoyed this journey through humanity's worst days, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos exploring the terrifying, hilarious, and downright mind-blowing history that shaped the world you live in today. And before natural selection comes for any of us, make sure you drop a like and leave a comment below about which historical period you think you'd survive, or absolutely not survive. Personally, I'd be dead in the Ice Age by day 3. See you next time. Stay curious, stay stubborn, and never forget, you are here because thousands of people refuse to give up. Now it's your turn to keep that streak going.